we decided to make our first jar ecosystem in the late summer, early fall of 2020. Welcome to the Jar Ecosystems YouTube channel. I thought it would be best to use a pretty large jar, so I searched around on the internet and found this 5-liter jar made by Bormioli, and I ordered it from a retailer called Everything Kitchens. We went to a local pond and I dug around in the dirt, which ended up being very silty, and I collected a good bit of dirt and poured it into the bottom of our 5-liter jar, hoping to have as many organisms as possible in the dirt. And then I gathered some water and filled the jar about halfway full, again hoping for as many organisms as possible. Then I filled this large pitcher with more water with the idea of topping off the jar later on after planting some plants in it. Then I took a fish net and drug it around in the water, hoping to collect more organisms. We went to a local aquarium store called Fishmania and we bought this jungle Vallisneria, which we had planned to use in our jar. But when we told the employees there at Fishmania what we were doing, they gave us for free this top plant called Salvinia. Heather planted the jungle Vallisneria. This is why we didn't fill the jar completely up with water at the pond, so the water wouldn't gush out the top, losing organisms, as Heather planted the plants with her more narrow hands and arms than mine. Next, we took the water from the plastic jug and topped off our jar. We decided not to fill the jar all the way up, but only to the place where the jar starts to curve back in towards the lid. With the jar now as full as we were going to get it, Heather planted the Salvinia that the employees of Fishmania gave us on the top. It has roots that dangle down into the water, but they are not supposed to go into the soil, so it was very easy to plant these. Before I even got around to sealing the jar, Heather was already noticing small creatures swimming around in the murky water inside. So we thought this is going to be pretty good, and I went ahead and sealed the jar. Heather continued to notice little creatures, and then when we brought the jar inside, we put the date of the sealing on the jar. As you can see, the substrate was very silty and sandy, so I was really hoping it to be more dirt and less sand. In a few days, our jar water got relatively clear, but it did take quite some time to clear up, as you see here. Here's a mistake we made when I was putting the jar together. I accidentally put this man-made popsicle stick in the jar, and after much debate we decided to leave the jar sealed and leave it in there. And here you can see the first view of some of the tiny life inside of our jar. This fast-moving, cute little creature we believe is a water mite. We have 2 or 3 of these in the jar, and they are some of the larger creatures in the jar. It really zooms around, and it was fun in this particular shot because it kept coming on and off of the screen. The water mite was easy to spot, but very difficult to get footage of because it was so fast. Here is a snail of some sort. It's much slower. This snail footage is at 4 times speed, and in this particular shot there's a snail in the middle of the screen and another snail. I can't believe we got 2 snails. There's another snail coming down from the top towards the middle of the screen, and again this footage is at 4 times speed. Here's some more footage of that same snail, and then if you look to the right of the snail, it looks like there's worms of some sort swimming around in our jar ecosystem. The next couple of shots of our jar ecosystem are from a little bit further back, and if you look closely you can see water mites swimming around. These are the fast-moving, easy to spot creatures in our jar ecosystem. I believe our favorite jar life forms are these snails. And again, here's some more snail footage at 4 times speed. Here's a slightly more up close view of a water mite, and much smaller is this copepod. This is a Daphnia, which is sometimes called a water flea. Our jar has life squiggling around all over the place. It's really hard to see it, but if you look close, there's movement all over. Here's some more 4 times speed snail footage. This is when the jar had been sealed for about a week. And we're not sure, but we think those brown things on the bottom of the snail might be eggs. Let us know what you think they are. Thank you for watching this making of our first jar ecosystem in the late summer and early fall of 2020. All of this footage is from the first week of this jar, and we plan to update you on how this jar is doing once a month up until the time that it dies. Or maybe it'll continue forever, who knows. Subscribe to see.